2, 3, 4.
Okay, big controversial topic today. I don't think the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU, I don't think it's that great anymore. And I think they've been struggling to keep fans happy since Endgame, or since Spider-Man, I guess. And there's been a lot of stuff since then.
A lot of stuff.
And every single one of them gets, I love it or I hate it. So I don't know if people are picky. I definitely have an opinion that we'll get into, but what do you think?
Well, to be fair to Marvel, just to start off here, that's how it is with everything now. It's
Yeah.
either it's beloved or it's hated. It's rare that something, grows over time and people just kind of don't talk about it, and it's kind of nothing's ever just like, oh, that was pretty good, or oh, that was okay, or you know what I'm always amazed by, people who can go watch a movie and they don't want to talk about it after. I'm like, in certain
That's
ways,
so weird, right?
but in certain ways that must be nice because you can just enjoy stuff. And at the end of the day, that's what it's for. They're not making it for you to study and dissect. Like, we're just such assholes over here. But I'm just kidding. But
And a lot of people go to the movies just to be entertained,
but sometimes I'm like, it must be nice just to be able to just take it in, not worry about it.
and not care and not really have a preference, move on. Like, oh, I was entertained, that's that. But unfortunately, there's an unbelievable, huge fan base, deep lore, and everything when it comes to Marvel movies, and they absolutely run the planet now. So they catch the most criticism. Every single person and their mother has an opinion on the new movies and the old. Everybody watches these things. So
It's definitely past its peak.
I think so.
But does that mean
That's obvious, I think.
Does that mean the end is soon? I don't necessarily think so. I mean, there's a...
I think a big comeback could be... I think a big comeback is indefinite.
I feel like it's early to say come back or not. It's to me, the decline hasn't been going on that long. I mean, it's only 2019.
Yeah.
Endgame came out, only 4 years ago. So it really hasn't been that long. So I wouldn't say count them out yet. And even if they are past the peak, they can still go on for a while as an entity. I mean, they were making westerns into the 70s.
Yeah.
There were still quite a bit of westerns pretty deep into the 70s. And there's plenty of other pop culture entities that have survived past
Come and go, right?
their peak, right? It's just a slow, very slow decline. So, and at this point, what else is competing with Marvel? There's nothing else to take its spot. So it's past its peak, but it's still dominating nonetheless.
Since Endgame...
Let's say the last year, since Endgame.
Screw all the phases. Since Endgame, what have you enjoyed?
Okay, well, like No Way Home was good, but not necessarily for the right reasons. Loki was cool, but I don't think I'm going to go back to it. WandaVision was good, but didn't quite stick the landing. Did not care about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Don't care about any of these other shows. Maybe that's writing it off, but like, this is just feels like the era where the characters are getting more obscure, the releases are becoming more frequent, and it's just hard to hold my attention.
That's not a good recipe, because we are trying to figure out who our new favorites are while like still holding on to some of these characters. But a lot of our OG Avengers are gone, and they're introducing character after character after character after character. There's no slow intros, no characters bleeding into other shows, with a few exceptions. Everything is being introduced at once.
And the movies are written as the characters, you have to see them as iconic from the get-go.
Yeah,
they're
come
gods.
on. Like, they got to earn that,
We
right?
got to know who they are. They just know we're all going to clap in the theater because some random comic book hero... and I don't.
But that's
just
what excites me. What used to get me going was seeing a new character show up.
Yeah, but it's cheap now.
When they do it, it's not as satisfying as it used to be. That's for sure.
And it's just, maybe I'm underestimating it, but it just seems to. How can you keep holding the broader public's attention with more and more obscure characters? I mean, like, I'm looking at the most recent releases in some of the upcoming movies. Look at these pop culture mainstays. We got Ant-Man and the Wasp, the Marvels, Thunderbolts, Blade. So basically Captain America and Guardians of the Galaxy, who on a wing and a prayer somehow became icons, which are going to carry this next run of movies on their back. you know.
Even when we get a Captain America show, it doesn't have Steve Rogers. It's introducing the Falcon as. I thought the show was decent, but I really didn't like the villain. It really didn't keep me going. I just kept watching that show for the only sole purpose of seeing Sam become Captain America, and that's what everybody came to the table for, and that's all we cared about. So all the filler in that show, everything, we just wanted that last episode is what everybody came for, essentially. And it was just bland, boring. What I don't think was bland and boring was Loki. I really liked Loki. I feel like it had a lot of character. Loki was weird and it kept me on edge. I didn't know what was going to happen. It was dealing with one of the first like appearances of the multiverse. Tell me about the TVA. It was pretty cool, right?
I mean, look, that show definitely had a cool, I guess, mythology. I don't know. When you first came in, it felt like there was a really well constructed world and a very distinct.
I got
look.
that from Loki,
and that when you watch that, you feel like there's been effort put into it. You feel like there's been time and thought put into it. There are a lot of good things about Loki for me, but at the end of the day, I don't really go back and look at it as something that's very memorable.
No, I don't. But overall, I'm satisfied with it. And I end the sentence there. I'm satisfied with Loki. Let's move on. But Loki was also introduced in a great way. Remember how in Endgame, they're time traveling and they mess up, and this Loki picks up the Tesseract and escapes? That creates a branch timeline. That's what the Loki show is about. It's clear. It's obvious. When you watch Endgame, you're like, oh, I want to know what happened. So you go watch Loki, and it's a great adventure as to what happened to that Loki. And I think on its own, it's great. It introduces the multiverse, and I think it gets fumbled beyond that. I actually tried to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania like 3 days ago, and I could not get through it. I watched about 45 minutes. I couldn't do it.
Brutal.
Couldn't do it, man. It was brutal. It was stupid. It was a joke. I didn't think it was funny. I didn't think any of it was funny. I thought a lot of it was... Even there's this whole sequence where they're going into the quantum realm, all CGI going through portals. It wasn't that great, man. The characters aren't that great.
No.
It's 45 minutes in. They're still kind of starting up the story of what's going to happen. The main villain Kang didn't even make an appearance barely in the first hour. So the first hour they're saying him or referring to him. Oh, are you going to go see him? Have you spoken to him about this? He's the one in control of all this stuff. Okay, like cut the shit. Like show us what we're up against. It lost me. And I really don't know what's going on with some of these movies. Thor: Love and Thunder, what a joke.
It's just being rushed out, and they're trying things to stay relevant and to appeal to everyone.
I don't feel like they're taking risks anymore.
Yeah, but that goes with the territory, right? I mean, if you want to look at it just blandly, these have become a big moneymaker, and they're just doing anything they can to get them out. Let's throw them out and keep this going. And then, I don't know. Every dog has his day, and we're kind of just kind of
but
past
like,
the peak,
there's a lot of these dog days. Every one of these movies is a dog day.
Yeah, but that's what everything becomes after a while, right? It's just in the business of diminishing returns. But I don't know. I think
and look, listen, there's a lot of people who are like absolute fans of Moon Knight, and like I just didn't really receive it that well. But like in theory, I've known that character for a long time. Like as a kid, he's made appearance in comic books and he's shown up in some games. I thought he was really cool, and I was really amped to get a Moon Knight show, but I just really wasn't that satisfied either.
Well, here's the thing. I think some of the stuff that's coming out now that we don't like, and I'll even admit, in the future, when we're further removed from it, we don't feel as oversaturated with it. I feel like it'll be fun to look back on as like this weird, interesting period where they were just throwing anything at the wall. Like I often say with DC, how that's going to be fun to look back at.
And they just see what sticks, right?
Yeah, maybe this period will be fun to dissect and look back on. It's just right now, it's hard to enjoy because we're just so oversaturated.
Don't you feel completely lost after Endgame. Like before there was all the solo movies and then the Avengers. And then more solo movies and then the Avengers. And then solo movies and then another Avengers. What is this swampy mess right now? I have no idea how this is going to come together. I don't see anything connecting, intertwining too well, other than the multiverse stuff. I'm mostly talking about Moon Knight and like She-Hulk and Miss Marvel and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I want to see how all this is coming together.
But how do you do your big ending too, with this kind of, with these phases? You know, like because Endgame and Infinity War were they did it pretty well. Those movies could have been a mess.
Man, come on, let's not shortchange people. Infinity War and Endgame was absolutely incredible conclusion.
Yeah, it was great. It was very well done, right? And they did it, and they did it in a way where they could even package it down that people who hadn't necessarily seen every movie were going to go into the theater that day and feel part of something. I don't know. It's going to be very hard to recreate that with where we're at now, and there's just too much now. I think the movie would feel like a clusterfuck.
Think about this, okay? Marvel back in phase 1, 2, and 3, they took like their misses. They took those misses really well because for every Ant-Man and the Wasp, we got a Spider-Man Homecoming, and there was bad movies back then. Bad Marvel movies were overlooked, and we moved on to the next one. And the next one was usually really good because you'd get a shit movie like Thor: Love and Thunder. Or, no, sorry, not Thor: Love and Thunder. Thor: The Dark World back then. And then to follow that up, you get Guardians of the Galaxy. For every miss, they had a hit.
Yeah.
And now, I think there's a lot of misses. And, like, for every 5 misses, I think there's a hit.
Yeah,
that ratio is just bigger now as what it used to be.
I don't know. It's more, but again, they're at the top. They're still at the top.
They're still at the top, right?
I think it just represents an overall problem for Hollywood.
Is there just more people online now that are unhappy as compared to what it used to be? Are the disheartened people, are they just louder than the people who are satisfied?
I just think they have a lot more to compete with, and this was only ever going to work for so long in the grand scheme of things already.
That's true. But and you've been preaching that for a long time.
But now in this era where there's so much stuff competing with it, it's going to be hard to live up to that standard that they set for themselves. I mean, they had a great run while it lasted. But it's just hard. It's just hard for them to compete. It's a totally different world.
Now listen, the upcoming movies we got like that are gonna bring everything together is Avengers: Secret Wars and Avengers what's called the Kang Dynasty, those will be the 2 new Avengers, Part 1 and 2. Secret Wars, Kang Dynasty. That looks like the clear end of where all these shows are going to come together. All these heroes from these shows are going to come together in those movies. So maybe, do you think these new Avengers movies are going to make all these other projects better? Are they going to make us respect these old projects, all these shows better?
Not in the moment. No, I don't think so. I just don't think it's going to be hard to recreate what they did before.
They're trying to. And it's going to look different, but it's going to be similar.
I mean, I feel like, I wonder if there's people saying we need to think outside the box. We're trying to do the Infinity War Endgame, Infinity Saga model, and we're going to do this again, but bigger and grander, basically.
Okay.
But what if there's people who's like, we need to rethink our approach.
Okay.
Not try to copy that and try to just keep the superhero, lore going, but just in a different way.
They do know where this is going. Mm-hmm. And that whole Endgame, Infinity Stone, that was the drama of the last one. The new one is the Skrulls and Secret Invasion. These Skrulls are shapeshifters. They're green aliens, and they're shapeshifters. And in the comic books, the Skrulls have infiltrated everything. The Avengers, the Fantastic Four, all these superhero, every organization of heroes have been infiltrated by these shapeshifters. All around the world, all around the galaxy, and it all comes together at once. That's what they're doing. And that could be huge. That could make all this other stuff better. You know what they could do theoretically? One of these shows that was poo poo, they could be like, oh, that was a scroll the whole time, a shapeshifter. It wasn't actually Captain America.
Yeah.
So that could be phenomenal. That could be phenomenally done. Be like, why was that character kind of weird? Why was Thor kind of a idiot in the last movie? Retcon it and make him a scroll. That happens in the comics.
Maybe they're being
So
that clever.
I
Maybe.
wouldn't be mad if they did it, and it'd be a clever way to take the hit.
Yeah, they'd be questioned forever
That
if they were doing
could-
it to cover up some, but
That sounds good to me, and that could get me excited again.
I
That
just don't know if that you can get a payoff as good as Endgame Infinity War, or can they do that? They could
that
do it.
scenario is one of the only things that would give me a good huge payoff, like an Endgame.
Yeah, but
And then what if they just revealed Thor is dead, and that's a scroll, and like, what the hell? Thor's dead? What are you talking about?
yeah.
Something that you didn't see happen, and
Well,
that
that would-
hasn't been Thor.
It would bring a whole bunch of rewatch value to those.
Yes.
Movies.
And now with Disney Plus, that's easier than ever.
Yeah.
Rewatching all this stuff.
No, that'd be I guess that
that
would be
real
smart.
Marvel,
Smart move on
ring
their
my
part.
line, hit my line, Marvel.
Yeah, what if it'll be interesting to see what they do. I don't know. It's people. Look, point is, people definitely still care about it. I think we can all agree it's definitely past its peak.
Definitely past his peak, and every single one of these projects since Endgame, you can't tell me they're as cohesive and as good as everything before Endgame.
No, but also like
Is there a generational thing happening here too? Like, is there a new younger generation that's absolutely loving all these new projects, and we're just not liking it that much because we're past our teen years of admiring these things?
yeah, I mean, maybe there's definitely a decline because I don't think. I think anybody who says that these movies are just appealing to kids is, I don't know. I just think
That's
we
blasphemy,
live in that world
dude.
now.
No.
We don't grow up.
Kids
as fast
don't
now.
buy tickets.
We don't
No.
grow up as fast.
I'm
now.
not buying that anymore. Same with
I go
yeah,
to
that's
Comic Con and Fan Expo. I see who's
exactly
paying the bills.
exactly. And
As much
when
as
these
kids are.
movies were like when Star Wars was originally made, yeah, it was made for kids, and like they still say, oh, Star Wars is for kids, but kids aren't buying tickets. Adults are going to these theaters, bringing their kids. Adults are going
Well,
with
I
adults.
just don't think
it's not. Kids aren't making these events huge.
It's not being honest about the nature of the business now.
Yeah.
You're trying to appeal to everyone.
That's and something being for kids is not an excuse for your movie to be shit.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like all these Pixar movies, Disney movies, they're instant classics because they're phenomenal. And they're for kids. They appeal to kids.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
I think Marvel is paying writers and producers and letting them go do their thing, but either giving them too much freedom or giving them too much direction. I don't know what's going wrong here.
there's probably. I think it's too much direction. I think that's part of your problem when you try to appeal to everyone. The movies are gonna feel less personal, but that's the direction they kind of want to go in at this point. I just think it's disingenuous when they say, "Oh, it's just for kids."
That's stupid, right?
Yeah, people don't grow up as fast. We're all into the stuff we're obsessed with way longer than people used to.
They know their demographic.
Yeah. So I feel like take that into the equation, but I also feel like it's definitely us not liking these most recent movies. Part of it has to do with being an adult.
Maybe I'm biased because, like, when I was a
Well,
kid,
we're just more picky now.
yeah,
We're way more picky now.
I was 6 when Iron Man came out, and I caught every premiere 6, 7, 8, 9, every Marvel movie
Yeah.
when it came out in my childhood. So I could just be like extremely picky, but I don't know. I don't think any of these new things are as special or have as much identity as the old things did. But then that I kind of contradict myself because I think a lot of these projects, Thor: Love and Thunder, definitely has identity. I just don't like it that much.
But you could name examples. There's plenty of things that we like that,
There are bad things
weren't good and weren't well received at the time they came out, but we still love them and they still mean a lot to us. So I don't know. I just feel like part of it is definitely the quality's gone down, but we're also more picky. It's a bit of both, right?
Yeah.
Like everything's kind of a bit of both.
Or is Marvel on a decline? Have they been on a decline, in your opinion?
Yeah, I've been saying, right? But I mean, look, I was complaining before. Infinity War and Endgame, not necessarily of quality, just like it was too much, and I feel like now a lot more people feel that way. I think there's definitely a bit of a decline, and we're just getting to a point where I think things are changing, and what's dominating the conversation now is going to change. Like I keep alluding to other platforms, right? I think
The takeover's happening in other places now.
movies, the movie business doesn't hold the same power and entertainment that it used to, and I think we'd probably be shocked to know what a lot of these kids hold dear as far as like pop culture stuff. I don't, maybe it's not as much as in movies and TV. I don't know. I'm probably wrong about that. I'm sure they do, but I have to imagine whether it's whether it's a personality online or a certain channel or a podcast, whatever.
Where are the Marvel podcasts? The like official stories, like back before TV was a thing, the family would gather around the radio and listen to these adventures and stories. We have that format again in podcast form. You could tell some superhero stories through podcast forums. Marvel could publish these, put them up on Spotify as official content, little side stories. And do you think that's has potential?
Yeah, but for a very niche audience, I don't know if that would necessarily.
I don't know how much money that brings in, but like
they'd be easy to make, cheap to make.
You make a audio podcast story like about Nick Fury or something.
Yeah, but it wouldn't make any money, right? But this brings up a totally other.
It could make money though.
Not to a company like Disney, the money that's getting made
compared to how much they make during the movies, sure, and compared to how much they make through subscriptions, they absolutely dwarf.
Making content like that is not about, to me, whether you're going to make money directly.
It'd be respectable, though.
To me, it's a long-term investment. That's all it is. The way the show business works now is you can't just do the thing that you do. You got to do that and make some extra content for free, and you're going to put it out there. And 90%, majority of the people who watch that content will only know you and watch you for that content, but you just got to hope that content is going to get you that little 10%, that little 15% that are going to become new fans. And is it worth investing over a long period of time? That's all content is, right? So it's a question, does Disney want to put money and time and resources into producing a podcast, which they could easily do?
Was there any other formats other than podcasts you think that could work?
Well, there's always creative promotion, right? You can do, look at how The Dark Knight was promoted, where they had like scavenger hunts around the cities with clues, and you get fans.
The new Batman did some of that stuff too.
So, and you could do really cool stuff with social media. I mean, definitely that is there, but like I said, I feel like a lot of these studios think they're making big money. We own these platforms, and I feel like they're kind of above doing that, because when you're doing something creative, you really, especially these days, you really got to like sell every part of yourself.
You do.
To the people. You got to make all this other stuff on the side. They got to know everything about you. They got to know into your personal lives. You got to record everything. You got to release all this merch on the side. Do everything, right? Where I feel like that's more of a decision of like, you're going to do this for free. You're not going to make any money doing it, but is it worth it over time?
Yeah.
As I said. And that's something that's copped up in the social media area. It's really good for fans. We get all this content, endlessly of content.
We get to sit here and twist our beards and be like, I don't know if I like that one.
But if you notice with a lot of our forums, it's the content is almost all it is anymore. Look, I always respect and love stand-up comedy, but a lot of it's just becoming podcasts. And I love those podcasts, and I don't disrespect them for doing that. I don't want it to sound like an insult. If they want to do podcasts, that's something they can be talented at and that they're really good at. But I feel like some of them are being disingenuous if they're saying that's not what they're most known for to most people.
That's true.
Even the ones we've gone and seen, you're going to see them once, maybe twice in your life, but you're listening to a podcast every week. Yeah. And it's not like you're watching their stand-up every single day.
That's where they make their money, and we know that.
Yeah. So, I don't know where we went with that, but I just feel like a big company like that is going to be like, we're a professional company. Yeah. We make big money, and we pay for big promotion. We're not going to waste this little podcast that's going to reach this small number of people.
Do you think we like things that feel familiar, and that's what sells tickets?
Yeah, of course. That's why it takes so long to get out of a cycle, right? You know, people. It feels like everybody's been talking for years about
Yeah.
how oh we're sick of all this superhero movies. You know, me whining about it forever, but we still go and they still make big money. So
Yeah.
people like what's familiar, and it definitely works. But I feel like right now we're in a period of transition where something else is
Yeah.
going to come along.
I
Whether
think,
that's in
look,
movies or not.
listen, guys, I think Marvel will recover from this rough period. Guardians was great, and now more than ever, I think studios and publishers and executives are listening to like the positive feedback. You know, what they did with Guardians. They're obviously gonna be like, that did well. Let's look into why that did well and keep doing it. That can only work for so long until like the format changes and whatnot, but I think people now either like stuff that feels familiar or stuff that's mature and different and surprises you, which is why things like Guardians ended up doing well. That's why like Deadpool does well. Edgy is cool now, you know. They do Suicide Squad, the Peacemaker show. You're a huge fan of that Peacemaker show.
Yeah, I liked it. But,
Maybe just James Gunn is the genius here.
yeah, I mean, certainly, right? He's probably should get the most respect out of anybody who's created an MCU movie because he took something that was really obscure and made it a mainstay.
Yeah,
made it
for
iconic,
sure.
and he's probably the most groundbreaking and probably the most innovative out of all of these directors that have done this as far as what they made
Yeah,
in the MCU.
definitely in the top three. He's definitely up there with the Russo brothers, in my opinion.
He's the one who made a true mark.
Yeah.
In my opinion, on entertainment. You know, a lot of these guys, it's following the formula and copying something and taking an already proven entity that's going to work, whereas he took something that was new to most people and created something that's really successful and has become iconic. Guardians of the Galaxy is something that, like, I don't necessarily feel a part of the Superman fan base or the Batman fan base.
Yeah.
You know, these already established characters. You don't necessarily feel as attached to it. But Guardians of the Galaxy, like, we were there. We were a part of that. We were there when it became new. We were there when we were saying, what is this dumb movie with a raccoon in it? This isn't going to
And that's why it does well now, because we can recall and be like, wow. And that makes things seem a lot better than they are.
And I didn't get that with, a lot of movies that I like, right?
Yeah.
So I'll always hold James Gunn in high regard. And yeah, I like that that he's bringing in a more R-rated edge. I think that's definitely needed.
Yeah.
And I don't even look at it as like, oh, it needs to be a break from the norm. I feel like
it's just more creative, man.
it just feels like it can be more creative and it appeals to somebody more my age. But I don't really think there's any shock value in it anymore. I think I think the world is pretty comfortable with edgy content and swearing now. That's not, to me, it's not really being a rebel anymore. But it's nice that they're bringing them in because it's the movies that appeal to us more. And at the end of the day, that's what they're trying to do: make money and appeal to everybody. So why not?
Yeah, Marvel's still definitely the like head honcho on the block. You know, they throw out these movies that make hundreds of millions still consistently. But there is something new that's coming out that I'm pretty excited about. Seth Rogen is making a Ninja Turtles movie, an animated Ninja Turtles movie. And it looks great for a multitude of reasons. Have you watched the trailer?
Yeah, I caught it. It looks cool.
If you didn't catch it, just throw it up and I'm going to watch it on mute here. Okay. I'm going to watch it on mute here while I just talk about it because it looks really exciting.
I liked the I liked the look of it.
Yeah, it has a new animation style.
I think that's needed.
But come on. Are they ripping off, riding on the coattails of Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse, with this animation style? It looks almost like claymation at some point.
It kind of is. Now that you mention it, it kind of is. It does look a bit different.
It's unique. You can't.
I feel like it's a bit more subtle
than
the Spider-Verse was. The Spider-Verse was like exploding colors, and
true.
This feels a bit more.
It feels grounded in the Ninja Turtles universe. This feels like the Ninja Turtles universe, all the turtles are voiced by actual teenagers, young teens. So they sound young, they sound like teenagers. There's a lot of shenanigans going on here.
Did
Seth
Ninja
Rogen
Turtles
is writing it. Has
Tur-
written it.
Yeah, well, this is gonna be interesting because Ninja Turtles are one of those pop culture entities, movie series that hasn't quite figured it out yet. Hasn't quite
They did. They did with the TV format. Ninja Turtles definitely thrived on the cartoon TV format.
But I mean, they haven't figured out a new era. To me, they haven't done anything that's been considered iconic with this latest new audience.
Right. Yeah.
They've had a lot of
been
stumbles.
MIA for a while.
And I saw DT and then T back in the theater. Like, what was that? Probably like 15 years ago.
It was a miss.
But that was a big miss at the time. I didn't mind it, but
this looks like something that could land, and I think I will immediately want more. It looks great. I hate saying it, and I sound so stupid saying it all the time, but it looks refreshing as hell.
Well, it definitely needs a refresh. Like I said, you can still do this with the Ninja Turtles because I feel like they haven't fully solidified, their like iconic moment in this kind of new era.
Yeah, and this is something that's versatile. Ninja Turtles is versatile. You know what? Maybe not, because I don't think Ninja Turtles necessarily did well in the live action format. Apart from the movies in the 90s, they were pretty popular.
Yeah, but those aren't amazing to look
They
at.
did not
It's
stand the test of time.
That really got people in the first place, right?
Ninja Turtles should stick to comic books and animated motion pictures for sure.
That is one of the nice things about this era for comic book characters. As much as I am, sick of comic book movies, at least now when they're making them, there seems to be a bit more of an effort to make them more
there's
of a comic book style and return them to the roots, because a lot of old superhero movies, there's great ones, but there's ones that look corny and cheesy because they're not trying to be comic booky, and they just kind of look silly and dated. And,
yeah.
This I look back on when TMNT came out actually as pretty nostalgically. I had that Wii game.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I had that Wii game.
You did,
There was
didn't
a
you?
Wii game with levels and stuff. The McDonald's toys I remember having.
Yeah.
Saw it in
that
the
was
theater.
big. It was big.
It felt like it to us, but then it's like, I don't know, we were also kids. And then that movie bombed, apparently. I remember going with friends to see it.
This movie has the potential to be badass for adults to go and enjoy. And kids will be into this too. I think this is... I already am seeing this as a smash hit. Because they just set out to make a sick movie. Like, who greenlights this? Who comes like, oh, I want to make a Ninja Turtles movie? No, these are people who enjoy the source material and want to give the fans something great. Something Ninja Turtles has been kind of neglected. I'm a big Ninja Turtles fan. I don't know how many times I'm supposed to say Ninja Turtles in this podcast, but I'm pretty excited for this nonetheless. They're definitely trying to lucratize on that Spider-Verse, different overstimulating animation style. That's for sure.
When's not to drive it off topic here, but when's He-Man coming back? I'm wondering when they...
Yeah, when you talk about Ninja Turtles, you gotta talk about He-Man too. I don't know.
It feels like they're gonna bring.
Can
back
they do that?
everything.
Will that?
They're trying to bring back everything they possibly can. It feels like
A new live action He-Man could be hot garbage.
It probably would be, because most He-Man is hot garbage. But does that? I want to know what is
Imagine
like the absolute furthest they'll go.
Hold on.
Will there be? You know what I could see? Battlestar Galactica. Because that's well respected.
Yeah.
And I could see them trying to bring that back. That could be a last resort one. We'll see that in 2025.
Imagine super, super dark, but kind of realistic He-Man TV show. Just think about that. Like Game of Thrones dark in terms of tone, but He-Man.
Yeah.
Weird approach, but people would check it out, and it'd either be laughable or, I don't know. I just like when things are turned upside down sometimes.
How would they do I have the power, whatever that is?
Yeah, right. I don't know.
And would fans take it as like, well, that's not how He-Man's supposed to be?
Not respecting the original. I don't know. Stuff changes with the times. I like seeing stuff reimagined. And I think people like seeing stuff reimagined too.
Isn't He-Man just one of those 20-minute toy advertisement shows too.
Right. Yeah.
It's not really
Yeah.
that they had back then.
The ad campaigns, the toys, merchandise made most of the money. That's for sure.
No, but like if you did TV episodes from those cartoons, they're just their toy ads, basically.
Right? Yeah. No.
That's what it's focused on.
I remember a while ago when there was this whole conversation about Sony and Marvel, who owns the rights to Spider-Man or whatnot. What I do know is that Marvel still does own the merchandising rights to Spider-Man. So Marvel is making 100% of the profit of Spider-Man merchandise, which is billions every single year. I'm talking action figures and clothes and towels and party hats and whatnot. So when it comes to He-Man, they were absolutely huge. But look, maybe things need to be reimagined, because Spider-Man was reimagined with Into the Spider-Verse. That was completely different than anything we had, and it did really well. But it's scary because sometimes you can do something completely different and have it fall on its face.
Well, I could see that. I could see this movie either doing really, really poorly, or I could just see it doing pretty good. Okay, and the people, it gets a little following, and then that's kind of it. I don't see this being a massive, massive hit, personally.
I hope it is.
It would be cool if it is, and maybe I'll be wrong.
Because I've been really on Ninja Turtles lately. There's a rumor there's a new gritty game coming out. There's a Ninja Turtle story where they have all died, and there's one turtle left, and he has a black bandana, so you don't know which one of the turtles he is, and he's the last Ronin.
Michelangelo.
It is Mikey. But he's not funny no more. Everybody's died. Splinter's dead.
That's what I predicted, because it would be the ultimate twist.
Right, yeah. But it's a cool story, and it's being made into a game, and we're probably going to be sitting here talking about it when they announce they're making a movie about it, because they're trying to lucratize on everything they can now. But stuff is versatile. I don't know. I'm excited. Movies have me excited right now. Marvel kind of has me a little excited. I'm mostly excited there's a Secret Wars movie. It used to be a show, and then they announced it's going to be a movie, or the other way around, with Nick Fury.
All right.
And it's introducing those shape-shifting aliens, and it gives me Winter Soldier vibes, spy, espionage, cool stuff. So that could be a good project. There's still some stuff in Marvel, to come back around to Marvel to wrap this up. There's still some Marvel projects headed our way that look great, and that could be great. Maybe they just needed to find their footing again.
Oh, we'll see how it goes. Well, I feel like we're past the peak. It's going to be interesting to see
We are definitely
where it goes
past
from
the
here. But they could definitely pick it up and have a good run again.
Yeah, we could.
I hope they do. All the best.
Yeah, I like sitting here talking movies a lot, and I like talking about new stuff that hasn't come out, and then having it come out and letting you guys know if it's good or bad. So, what you want to discuss Oppenheimer when that comes out?
Yeah, of course we're gonna do that.
We're gonna do an Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
We're gonna do an Oppenheimer episode, and we're gonna talk about that genre more on a broader scale.
Biopics.
Yeah, because there's a lot of great biopics, and there's a lot to unpack there. So that's coming up in a few weeks, probably the week after the movie comes out. We'll be chatting about it. Super highly anticipated, man. I think Robert Downey is in it too.
It looks good. It's going to be interesting. It seems like biopics keep getting better as they go on, and the ones that came out earlier, I look back on it and I'm like, man, they're trash. Like, they're not.
Yeah,
good.
they're getting
Everyone
better. They're
I
learning.
see is better than the next.
And it'll be like a historical biopic, like a lot with political. The creation of the atom bomb is just an extremely dramatic story, and
it's just it's such a tragic story because we found our greatest gift and wasted it on the deadliest weapon ever, where we could be using it for energy today and wouldn't need fossil fuels.
Yeah, controversial.
No climate change.
So
not to get too deep into that, but yeah,
that's an episode we're gonna do, and now I'm getting excited talking about it. But that's an episode we're gonna have for you in a couple weeks. I think that movie comes out in July.
Yeah, it's a big. I really hope they touch on like not just the fact that he created a deadly weapon, but the potential that was lost with not using nuclear energy
You want to
for
see?
good,
Yeah,
because it's the solution to a good chunk
yeah.
of our problems, if not our biggest problem.
You want?
So, and it was wasted. So
Yeah.
anyway,
I want to see that in IMAX. I want to see opening weekend. I know it's gonna sell tickets like hotcakes. Looks great. But yeah, that's what's coming up on the slime. I don't know what we're talking about next week, but we do know we're talking about Oppenheimer soon. So thanks for coming out today and listening to us kind of discuss the state of Marvel.
let us know what you think of the state of Marvel right now.
Yeah,
Do you still enjoy it?
what's the last Marvel movie you enjoyed? Let us know in the comments or on our Instagram, anywhere. So we'll catch you guys next week on the
Bye.
slime. Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.